So today we have Will Landaverde and also Alec Gilardi. Amber couldn't make it unfortunately because of emergency, but Will and Alec are my mentors for many, many years now. They're my mentors in two separate things. Alec is my mentor for finance, basically, and Will is my mentor for accounting. So we have both accounting and finance representing today. Um, so yes, we'll start with um, introduction. So Will, do you want to start with introductions first?
Sure. My name is Willie Landaverde. I graduated in 2017. I was an accounting major. I currently work in Rosenberg, Rich Baker Berman. It's in accounting firm in Somerset. We're a regional firm, not too large, not too small. And I don't know if there's anything else. I was a part of the Sigma Chi organization at my time during FDU.
And all right, I'll talk more about it because we'll also have a really like long story in FDU, what he did and how he got accounting and what he's doing now. Alec, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Alec Gilardi. I graduated in 2018. I was a international business and political science major at FDU, and now I'm a part-time master's student at Rochester Institute of Technology in applied statistics and mathematics. And I currently work at Northeast Bank. I was a data analyst about like a month ago, but I was just promoted to a data scientist slash manager, and I focus on commercial real estate lending, lending innovation, and statistical modeling and forecasting for them. So fancy way of saying I'm a data scientist for them.
Right. And we have a data scientist. We have a data science minor in FDU. Alec basically was the one who kind of like pushed it to happen back in 2016, 15, 17. Um, and it just happened last year for us at FDU Silverman. So, okay. Um, this is just really like a casual talk just to know, just to learn from their experiences. So we'll start with Will. Um, what did you ever study abroad or did you do in campus while you were at FDU?
So I never studied abroad. I didn't have the chance. Um, Personally, I was a math major that transferred over to accounting, and I didn't have, I guess, much time to really study abroad. I just had to focus on my courses. While on campus, I was pretty much just, very heavily involved in the organization that I was in. Um, and then from that, it was just graduate, got an internship, and get start my process towards my CPA, and that's where I'm at now.
Do you wanna? Most of us are accounting majors. Do you wanna share why you chose accounting and your professors, Dr. Collier and McGregor, are here as well?
Why I chose accounting? Well, I mean, I guess when I chose accounting, it was one of those like, oh, I like math, let me do something with math. But I'm sure, as a lot of you know, it really doesn't have to do much with math. It's a lot different than that. But to me, it just made more sense than finance. Not to bash finance majors, but that's a whole different world. And kudos to you guys. I don't know how you guys do it, but I like to stick to my accounting. So I got pretty far into it, and unlike a lot of people, I had a unique situation where I couldn't do the 4+1 program, but I ended up graduating with 140 credits because of my previous math major. So it was, in a sense, not anything bad, but I didn't really have to go for my years of masters. So I was able to get my CPA, and now I'm currently close to meeting my 150 requirement by just taking classes in community college.
Very like unconventional, which is
Yeah, very.
kind of need to hear every now and then, right? For us seniors, for us juniors who are, kind of confused on what's going on, what's going to happen in a few years. But like Will said, don't worry because, he made it through. He figured it out to complete his 150 and get his CPA. Actually, congratulations to Will because few months before he just got actually a year. last year, July summer, you became a senior auditor
Yeah.
after like completing your CPA, right?
I became a senior auditor first, and then a couple months after that, I was able to complete it. Just a few months shy of that 18-month window, which I'm not sure, like, you guys, how much of you're aware of the CPA exam, but when I graduated, I didn't have much information, and once I found out about it, that 18-month window creeps up pretty fast. So if you guys are able to start it, just keep at it and just try to finish it as soon as possible.
I was there when last year when Will started studying for the CPA exam. I basically interned at RRBB last year, so that's how I met Will, and he was really stressing about it, trying
Yeah.
to get out of work early so he can study with for the CPA exam. How was the CPA exam? Was it hard? Was it like your expectation? Was there really like massive changes with like what's going on now? With the
Um, I guess when I first started, I didn't really know what to expect. Um, taking various different courses, I thought, okay, maybe we have like a little, edge on it. But let me tell you, it's a whole different animal. So you have to, reconfigure how you're going to study. You got to figure yourself out and really key in and what works best for you. Personally, I failed twice before really figuring out, okay, what's going to work for me when I studied. Ever since then, whatever plan I came up with worked. And I fortunately wasn't able to, I didn't fail anything else. I just passed all of them in one shot. But it's very different from college. And coming from me, I wasn't a starry student, but, you know, it's, it's different and it really makes you figure out what works best for you.
Was it like scary that you failed or no? Because I feel like
Um,
it's needed. It's what you kind of needed.
I'm not gonna lie. At first, it was very discouraging. You start questioning like, is this really what I want to do? Am I even good at it? But you meet a lot of people, and a lot of people tell you the same thing. It's normal. Just keep at it, keep studying, and eventually, just all starts to click. And I'm at a point where it all makes sense. So I guess we did something right, right?
Yeah. Which path did you take first, and then which test did you take first, and then the last test that you took, and like
So you asked about the package too, right?
um like yeah, you used Becker, right?
No, I used Roger. I ended up using Roger. So again, that's also another thing where you have to figure out yourself, what's your teaching style. Personally, I preferred Roger just because he put everything in layman's terms. He put everything into a sense that I could understand it a lot better. And in terms of exams, I started with FAR, and my last exam was BEC, which is pretty much just all the like ethics, law requirements, and economical standpoints of the industries.
Nice. How was the audit section since you're an auditor? Did it come easy?
Um, I'll tell you right now. I don't know if he's in here, Professor Bazengai, but he definitely laid a lot of foundation when it came to audit. In the back of my mind, but a lot of it came to me as I worked in audit. I'm still primarily audit, and a lot of that helped me understand the things that were in the exam more than the book. The book can teach you so much, but I personally believe that real world experience is really going to give you that little boost to get to the information you need to know.
Nice. So congratulations to Will.
Thank you.
It's not
Appreciate it.
easy, but you did it
We're
after
here.
sleepless nights and overtime works and all that. Um, so yeah, that's Will's story. Hopefully you guys are checking out his LinkedIn, and as we get to know him, you are writing down questions for later for our Q&A. Now we'll move to Alec Gillard. Alec is also my mentor. I met him before I committed to FDU, and he basically was the one who told me to go to FDU. Um, so yeah. Uh, Alec, what'd you do in FDU?
Also kind of how Will was, I was a little bit unconventional in my journey in FDU as well. Um, I was involved in like finance club and a few other clubs on campus. I studied abroad in Roxton, and sadly, a lot of the time I wasn't actually on campus because I kind of went really hard to get internships, and I got like 6 over my career. And whether good or bad, or if even affected my overall success in the job department is a different conversation. But over the time at FDU, a lot of the times I was off campus, either like doing different internships or doing different outreach programs for FDU. So it was a little bit unconventional in the fact that I was less involved with clubs and Greek life, and I did study abroad once, but less involved on the Florham campus and more kind of outward for Mary and the rest of the gang in the business department.
Yes, I barely see Alec during his senior year because he was always working. And again, Alec, I think Alex still holds the most internships in his collegiate career in FDU Silverman. 6. I don't know how he did it, but like every summer he has an internship. Every semester he has an internship. Which is possible, guys. I know someone is on 5th. Um, but yeah. What did you Alec is basically doing finance, but then now you're a data scientist. How did that happen? Do you want to share? You also studied for your CFA, right? Yeah. So how was that? Did you push through? Did you not?
I'll kind of go through in order of those questions. First, from finance to data science, I worked in financial consulting when I first got out. Dixon Hughes Goodman, they're in New York, and they're kind of an advisory firm and an audit firm, but I was on the advisory side. So I focused mostly on credit modeling, statistical analysis, and like financial sheets, and then investment analysis. I did that for about a year and realized that I kind of wanted to be more on the stats modeling side, statistics and forecasting side versus the financial analysis side. So during that time, I was studying for my CFA, took the first level, and then kind of put it to the side because I wanted to get more on the stat side, like I said. So I left consulting after about a year and a half and went into broker dealer and equity research. Did that for a little bit, and then I finally found my footing as a data analyst at like a mid-sized bank that focuses a lot on some kind of cool data. And I padded that by doing and continuing to do my master's in applied stats and math at RIT. So that was kind of like the movement throughout. And I touched on it a bit for the CFA side, but I had stopped after level 1, partly because I didn't want to do the financial analysis anymore, and it wasn't necessarily as interesting to me as kind of like econometrics and statistics. And the second part is I wanted to get my master's done. I'm about 8 months out from finishing, and I'm finishing up my like dissertation and things like that, and my thesis. So there's just no time. And Will had touched on this with the CPA exam too. It's a lot of hours of studying, a lot of pushing yourself and giving yourself time to actually sit down and review the material. And a big part of that is lost when you're doing something else, like with a job and with school. There's just no time. Plus you kind of want to live too and like have some time for yourself. So at some point you got to make sacrifices. So I put it to the side.
That's cool. You pretty much uh covered pretty much everything, like your timeline and everything. So I want to ask both of you, which was your favorite FDU experience that kind of like that you were thankful of, and what was like your favorite like the life-changing moment FDU experience wise, and also like a moment where you kind of like realize, oh, thanks to FDU this helped me to be prepared in the real world, like in the working place. Well, Alex.
That's a loaded question. I'm gonna have to think about it for a few minutes.
Yeah. I mean, like, I I keep in contact with a lot of people I met in FDU, and I don't know if I can boil it down to one moment that I was like, oh, I'm here and I really appreciate this moment. But there are a lot of moments where the people made it really special. I mean, we all have our gripes about the administration, and we all have our gripes about different campuses and everything that comes into the college experience. There are cons to it, but a lot of the pros came from the people around me and the people that I got to experience and learn from. And that kind of really prepared me because there's so many different people and personalities and perspectives that come to FDU. And that's what I really saw in consulting and the rest of the work that I do as a data analyst and now a data scientist, is taking into consideration different perspectives and then putting it into words and then putting it into data and then analytics. So a lot of that experience came from like doing outreach for Mary and the people down in the Silverman College over there, and meeting the different people across the board that are at FDU, and kind of pushed me forward to be able to really handle a lot of those different pieces.
Right. It is the people. I'm always thankful to like Mary and Pat. Like they're basically my second mom in FDU. So I'm making, trying to remind me, Quinn, you have an interview, don't forget. Or did you fix your resume kind of thing. So I wouldn't be able to, uh take advantage or be not really successful, but be to be where I am today without, you know, their parental guidance at school. How about you, Will?
Piggybacking off of Alec, I will say a lot of it had to do with the people. Personally, I think my sophomore year, I was ready to transfer. I was like, I can't. This is just not working out for me. But part of it was just like put yourself out there. You got to get comfortable with what makes you uncomfortable, and that's pretty much the position I had to take at FTU. And only then was things started changing. You put yourself out there. You join groups. You join clubs. You start getting involved in all the activities that the campus has to offer. You take advantage of all the events that the school has, puts out, especially I forget what they call PPP events, PDP events. That's how I ended up getting my job, because you start talking to all these folk that you think you're never going to see again, but can be your life changing moment. And personally, not up until my senior year, I wasn't sure what I'm going to do exactly, just because I was studying accounting, but unwillingly making up the ranks in hospitality without really trying. And it was that one life changing moment where I met the marketing guy for my company, and I became an accountant and I studied for my CPA, and now I'm in the position I'm in. And it's all about just putting yourself out there. And FDU really taught me how to do that per se. So I guess that was my life changing moment.
Life changing moment, because
Yeah.
you're like just knowing your perspective, right, of having like that unconventional way that you didn't start from accounting, but then
Right.
you end up in accounting without really like, so like we are like juniors and seniors right now, and even sophomores, like you said, we are very lost. Like some of us are really lost and like really just figuring out what to do. And we're young. That's kind of normal, but we
Yeah.
do hope the best for us and like to make the right decisions for ourselves in the future. So that's a really good reminder to have. That's why we're having this alumni talk, because they've been in our shoes for, a few years back. And, it's good to look up to them as our role models from FDU. Um, with that being said, how, is there anything interesting going on with you guys in the work field? Like, what are you guys doing now? Your day to day life, basically, at work.
I guess I can start. I don't know how much everyone is interested in like econometrics and lending innovation, but there are really cool, things happening in the banking world, and it's usually kind of slept on in terms of like analysis. And I think a lot of people kind of overlook that because it just seems like so old and brick and mortar. But in my position, I get to do a lot of cool innovation stuff. We're doing research and working with the different Federal Reserve banks across the country to pull in like good equity data and really put forward some social aspects of the banking world. um, in terms of like professional work, I do a lot of like forecasting and understanding how different models work on our balance sheet. And then also there's a really cool program recently that came up that I've kind of headed up automating, was the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, which helped small businesses get funding from banks all across the country. So there were a couple waves that have gone through. I got the opportunity to build out a lot of different bots in Python and really build a scalable model for our PPP funding. And we really made a lot of interesting capital and retained earnings from that. So it's been a pretty cool time to be in the banking world since rates are so low, liquidity is so high and spread out. There's a lot of opportunities, and just been a really cool time to kind of see and grow in a really cool like fintech-esque way.
Nice. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, if you have any questions, like hit me with them at the end. I can like
Yeah.
slow down and talk more about any
Yeah,
aspect
like I'm
of
gonna
it.
have to reach out to you for questions because that sounded so interesting.
Dude, yeah, totally. I'm happy to
We're
talk to anyone
friends
that.
with each other too, like, us an accountant, we're kind of doing PPP, and in Alex's perspective, he's actually doing the automation part of it, like
Yeah,
understanding that way. So
a
that's
lot of accounting goes into it too. Like I've had to kind of make myself a semi accountant. I would not purport to be any sort of an accountant, but a lot of like the metrics you guys calculate and you guys use on day to day, like how you amortize like different payments and how we treat loans on the balance sheet if they're a short-term sale versus if we're actually originating or purchasing them. It's all accounting based at the end of the day. So it's been interesting learning all those rules too. And then automating and doing all the stats on the other side.
right. Alec is a nice um connection to have, especially now that freshmen, sophomores, and juniors who are studying the minor, our newest minor, the data science minor. Yeah. um Hit up Alex. Alec. He's really really good to like have his perspective in his job. How about you, Will? What's going on with RRBB?
I mean, besides the busy season dwindling down and all the frustration that comes with it, as you guys, if you get into public accounting, busy season's really, it's a really tough time, but it forces you to learn and you get to experience a lot of new things. So, I guess, again, piggybacking off of Alec, we've been dealing a lot with the PPP loan and really how coronavirus has affected companies economically, um, and very weirdly how some companies actually thrived during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's strange. It's very bizarre, but it's just making sure that everything that they're saying is correct. And that's pretty much what we do. And again, with a lot of what's happened with COVID and forcing a lot of companies to go digital, it's brought up the new thing where everyone's trying to go virtual. Everyone's trying to go technological feasible. They all want to be online. So everyone's trying to make software. Everyone's trying to innovate, and applying the gap guidance for all that has been out of this world crazy. So that's pretty much what I've been doing, especially when it comes to companies that gamble, companies that they want to be the next Amazon, all that stuff. It's interesting to say the least what COVID has pushed a lot of companies to do, and unfortunately, the effects COVID had on our world are sad. It really has pushed the economy to move to a new level, and I'm just interested to see what's going to happen with it.
Right. I have one question. I just learned about this uh 2 weeks ago. Do you guys know what NFT is?
Oh my God, I've heard of it. It's like
Yeah.
nonstop talk.
I just learned about it, and it's like the new thing now. Cause I know, like Silverman talk, right? We were trained to like study the market or like be aware of like the news and everything every day, and as business majors we were trained that way. So I kind of like started getting on it, back to it, or like reading up the news at 7 a.m. Because most of my friends are day trading too, so I kind of like want to get into like the trend, I guess, and what's going on with FDU Silverman. So and then I learned about NFT, and I didn't know what NFT, and I couldn't understand what NFT is, but I'm wondering if you guys know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done FDU actually kind of like helped me with my like crypto knowledge back in the day because I built a few computers and used their electricity to mine Bitcoin and a few other coins. Uh, and I remember I was caught and they were like, hey, how about you do an interview? And I was like, okay. So like there's an interview floating around on the internet. But NFTs, yeah, they're like an interesting byproduct of like the blockchain crypto ecosystem where like they're like non-fungible. They're kind of like tokens. They're not necessarily a coin, but they have value. And it's an interesting thing that like people are selling ownership to like an image or a text or a sound. And you can really track that ownership throughout the entirety of its life cycle. So it's a cool little like thing. I don't know how scalable it's going to be. The kind of it might just be the next like fad, and then something else will come up because there's always so much innovation on the crypto side and like blockchain side. But you know, once Tom Brady like is thinking of making his autograph an NFT and selling it, so we'll see how it all goes.
Right. So that's good to know. I'm asking because I just had a Q&A earlier in a meeting from like some of the Silverman students, like my mentees, and they didn't know about NFT. So I thought, you know what, it would be nice to introduce NFT in like BAP, and then you guys can do your research, and be aware of it. Um, but let's go to like more casual thing. Do you wanna Will and Alec, do you wanna say a little bit fun fact about yourselves? Like that is like outside that we don't know about, that is like you think that interesting for us to know.
I'll let Alec go first on this one.
Oh man, putting me on the spot. I see you. Let's see. I I don't know if it's necessarily an interesting fact, but more just like a weird coincidence. But one time I was in Prague when I was at FDU and I was abroad, and I got to go to Prague in the Czech Republic, and these two guys like came up to me and they were like, "Hey, we think we know your dad," and I was like, "What?" And they like took out my like dad's Christmas card with me in it, and then like a picture of my dad from like the '90s brewing beer in the Yale laboratory. Apparently, they were post grads with my dad, and they like had just like noticed me on the street, and I like called my dad. I was like, "Do you know an Evo and a Stanley?" So that was a weird one, but I don't know if it's a fun fact, more of just like a fun little occurrence and kind of like how funny life can be.
Yeah, it's such a small world. And that's why I learned from studying abroad in Roxton too. Like it's the words seem so big, but then when you do travel and meet other people and learn from their cultures and perspectives, it be like the world becomes small, and you kind of like get to appreciate even more. How about you, Will?
Listen, I don't even know why I bothered letting Alec go first because I can definitely not top that. I don't think I've ever had anything crazy like that happen. I guess fun fact about me. Honestly, man, that kind of made me seem boring, but all I really do is work, and I'm a very, very avid sneaker collector, so that's what I'm still doing. That's my only other, I guess, cool fun fact about myself.
Well,
Work has me kind of
what's
doing a
your
lot.
current sneaker buy? Your
What's my favorite sneaker buy?
Yeah.
Um, Jordans, Nike Jordans all day.
So you do follow the Nike stock, right? For that?
No,
Not
I
really.
really just follow the actual product itself. I'd rather have the product than the stock.
Got you, got you. Um, so with that being said, we have basically 30 minutes. I do have a lot of questions. I can talk more about them, the two of them, and just have like a conversation with them. It's been a while since I saw them. Um, so BAP members, do you have any questions? And to Alec and Will, please ask. I'm going to call out on people. um, Sal. Sal always asks questions. Anyone have questions?
Sure, I guess I'll ask the first question. Well, Alec and Will, thank you so much for talking to all of us today and sharing your experiences and your careers. Um, so I know, Alec, you just mentioned that you're going through a master's program in data analytics, like science, data sciences. And um, Will, you mentioned that you took like an additional 30 credits to fulfill like your 150 credits for the CPA exam. I just wanted to ask if you guys have any comments on like how you guys chose your graduate courses to maybe help you prepare for your careers. And for you, Will, as I'm an accounting major, do you have any tips for like students who are entering graduate schools, maybe what programs they should be looking into or what classes maybe you recommend that we should take?
Okay, do you want to start, Will? I can start.
Uh, I'll start. You go
Okay,
ahead.
cool.
So personally, I didn't have to do a master's program just from my accounting and math background when I was at FDU. I fortunately graduated with 140, and that just, I guess, to put it in short terms, it was a happy mistake. It just ended up happening. Right now, I'm just taking additional 10, courses, 10 credit courses, community college just to meet my requirement. But from what I've learned in the industry is that a lot of professionals don't get their master's in accounting right after. If the school has a program, definitely take advantage of it because it's going to help you when you want to get your license. But let's say in my position where I graduated 4 years, didn't go for my master's, a lot of people pursued a master's in something else, master's in marketing, they went for their MBA, or maybe they just studied something completely different, but they still met the requirements that they needed in order to get a license as a CPA, pursued the license, got the license, and then had a master's in like marketing and then a bachelor's in accounting. So if you're already in the track on track for the 4+1 program, I would definitely say, keep going with that. But if you have the ability to study something else, definitely go for it. And just make sure that, everything you have up until this day still gets picked up by the CPA licensing board.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Like just to harp off what he said, when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I kind of like fell into statistical like processes and forecasting and consulting, and then I fell into data analysis. So I tried to pad my resume, and like my perspective, I tried to pad my resume with applied stats and math as a master's, and so I think part of what Will said is, you can get your master's in something else and still get to the CPA or like stay in accounting or do something else. Like the way I see it is you won't really know what you're going to do until a couple years out. Like you won't really know your path. Like you'll fall into different ones, you'll jump companies, you'll try to figure it out and you'll really try to figure out what makes you happy and what you're good at. um, and so I think like using that as a springboard for your masters and then preparing to go into a different program that interests you and also helps your career is really important.
Thank you both so much.
Mhm.
I also had questions about should I pursue my 4+1 or should I go transfer to another college? And since it's accounting related, I did went to Will and asked for his insights. And since he learned from his mentors, he kind of like showered me some wisdom as well to guide me through it. So, and then if I am stuck sometimes, I go to Alec just to have like, that extra push of wisdom. Um, so yeah, any other questions?
What's going on, guys? Sorry, my mic wasn't working before. But first off, thank you, Will and Alec, for a great presentation. Great job with the panel discussion, Quinn. Doing an amazing job. And I got a question for Will. First off, I'm also a sneakerhead. I do love Jordans. I agree. We'll say that LeBron is the GOAT. That's another debate, though. For you, though, Will, talking about your journey with taking the CPA exam and the 4 parts, how are you able to manage your work-life balance while also continuing as an accountant for your firm?
Well, I'm sure you've all seen that triangle meme where it's like you got to pick two out of the three. It's your life, your job, and a social life. For me, it was CPA and work. Social life was non-existent for like 2 years. But I will say you also have to make time, just make some time for your mental health. Mental health is key, it's important, and sometimes you just need a day to not do anything. But with work, yes, work was a lot, especially during busy seasons. It's long hours, but for me, it was kind of like you just have to do it. As much as you hate it, you just have to do it, and it's not going to be forever. It's going to be for a short time, but you just got to sacrifice your time and do it. Um, Personally, I was kind of a nut job. I would wake up 4 a.m., start studying. Even if I was like on the treadmill or something, I'm studying, I'm reading, I'm trying to do some multiple choice questions. Uh, I would never work. I would never study during work just because I couldn't focus on both at the same time. But my firm would actually just offer their place to just stay and study after work, or go home, study till midnight, sleep all over again. It's pretty much the grind. It's the grind, and it's how bad you want it. And I don't want to say that to discourage anyone, but it's discipline. You got to key in on it, and you got to just keep at it in order to achieve your goal. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people who, they did the bare minimum. They did months, and they probably took a lot longer than I did to do some parts. And just because they weren't dedicated, they just can't pass. And they're years in, and they just won't pass because dedication is a huge factor of it. So if you want to get it done, it depends on how bad you want it.
Love that, man. And like that mentality, like your approach to it, it kind of embodies, the Mamba mentality, basically, just that relentless, pursuit and passion. So I love that. And, what were some times that you kind of like felt like, you had mentioned that you failed. So how did you try to, accept that failure and try to overcome it and learn from the mistake on?
It wasn't easy, just because I felt like once I got my when I started my firm, I started as an intern and I got a full-time position. But when I first started, I felt like, all right, I just got out of school. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, even though I learned, but I'm gonna learn in the process. And once I failed for the first time, I was still an intern. It stung, and it hurt a lot, just because I felt like what am I doing? But I allowed myself a day to sulk, and then after a day, just picked it up and started going. Um, and as I mentioned before, I failed twice. So after the second time I failed, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna feel bad for myself. It was more like, okay, I know where I screwed up. I know where I need to fix myself. Let's fix that, and let's keep moving. Let's see what else we can do. And it's it's moving pieces. You got to figure out what's going to work for you, and you just got to, like I said before, you got to key in on it. You can't dwell on what happened. You can't dwell on the past. You just got to look forward. You got to be optimistic. You got to be positive. I do feel like whatever you put out in the world is going to come back to you. So if you think you're going to pass and you're going to work hard for it, it's going to manifest its way back to you. So I guess my big advice is just keep going, just keep moving forward.
Amen, man. Thank you. Appreciate that.
How did it feel, Will, when you passed the CPA exam?
Whew. It was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, but I will tell you, it felt so strange not to have to study at night. I was home for the first time after I passed, and I was watching TV, and I was like, I feel like I gotta study. I feel like I gotta open a book. I gotta do some multiple choice questions. I felt like I gotta do something. But it felt great. It felt good.
Nice. For both Alec and Will, self-awareness, you know, were you really like self like aware of yourself while you were in college, and then now that you're doing work and you're meeting like people that you are not really that you didn't really expect to meet in your life, that gave you a lot of wisdom, um and then kind of like now you're aware of like what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like, and all these like pros and cons in life. How is self-awareness important in college and as well as in the workplace?
I like
Guess
you can
I
go first. Okay.
cool. Yeah. I think like self-awareness is a weird thing to quantify, but a big piece of my self-awareness kind of came after college. part of it was because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, nor when I got to consulting, I didn't know what a CCAR and a DFAST test were, or like the stress testing that goes on in investment firms and the accounting that goes into it. I had no idea what the heck they were talking about the whole time I got in. And so part of the self-awareness came from like humbling myself too, is like, oh yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I part of FDU prepared me, and there's like 90 to 80% that it won't prepare you for, and you just have to take it in stride and keep learning and keep like your mind open. And it's not something that the like daily grind of going to like classes every day really prepares you for in that respect. At least in my perspective, like I would just like do a test, get it done with, go to my internship, and I'm done. And it was kind of every semester was different. I took new classes. I didn't necessarily have to have any other like open-mindedness to that. It was a very regimented and scheduled thing. But when I got to the real world, it hit me, and I had to take it with stride and really start to learn and kind of shape myself in a way that really fits versus kind of just coming in and not really knowing anything. That answers your question.
Yeah. How about you?
I absolutely agree with that. Like, I do believe that a lot of it also comes with just being honest with yourself. If you're gonna go out there and you're gonna, lie about what you can do, pretend like you know how to do something, it's only gonna hurt you. From the get, I think you just need to know yourself, know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, see how you can develop yourself as a professional. As Alec mentioned, you go out there, you're not really sure what you're doing, and part of my, I guess, my progress as a professional was just like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing, teach me. And if you're honest with people around you, they'll definitely help you out. And I credit that to my firm. Stuff that I didn't know, they really helped me develop my skills. But at the end of the day, it just comes from being honest with yourself. If you're not, then you're gonna fail from the start.
Facts. Oh, we have Mary Sakin on the call. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Quinn. It's so good to see Alec. He's all grown up. And Willie, I can't believe it. Welcome. We're so happy to have you guys here.
We are honored at BAP to have them. We're just doing Q&A from the membership. Any additional questions, guys? We have 15 minutes. We really have to like really, take advantage of them speaking to us, because it's the end of the semester. It's towards the end of the semester. Seniors about to graduate, less than 30 days. I'm counting. Some of us have senioritis. So having this, talk is really helping us to, like Alex said, be kind of like humble ourselves down and like take in the moment on our, our last days in the semester. So any questions? No, I have a question though. What's the 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 biggest challenge that you guys, experienced during the pandemic? I know it's totally different. FDU sort of trained us a little bit on how to be flexible, how to be adaptable, in our classes, our management classes. Um, how did that, how did you guys do it and survive during the pandemic, working and, you're maintaining your mental health and your life as well?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, like, it was definitely unprecedented, and as we all know, I come at it from a student perspective. I'm finishing up my master's, all my stuff went online, and it was definitely a jump versus like going to night school and really getting into there and being forced onto Zoom with my professors not really knowing how to point a camera sometimes, depending on who they were. And it's a hard, it's a hard environment to learn, especially a quantitative thing like accounting or stats, or anything that we're all focusing on. It's hard to get the motivation, and as Will said, get the drive and the motivation to sit there and actually be present and not just like just go on your phone or like go on Twitter or something like that. So it's definitely, that was a change education wise and professionally too. I mean, there was a lot of CapEx spending We put forward like all of our different initiatives for digitalization in like 1 week. So everyone got on like their VPN software. People that were always in the office were forced out, and we had to really put forward a lot of different pieces. Like 90% of my analysis and my my analysis forecasting and like all the different stuff I use for analytics. It wasn't all off premises because I couldn't go on into the, into work and work on the different servers or something that I needed to do. It was all put onto the cloud. And so it was initially a lot of movement and a lot of like getting used to something different. And I think I got lucky because I hopped around a few times before I really got into a really great role in a really good company that was growing. So I was kind of in the mindset of moving and shaking versus kind of like some other employees that had been there for 20 years and didn't necessarily know how to transition themselves. So I kind of got lucky, and it was weird though. I mean, like, you can see my bedroom. It's not like when you roll out of bed and you just get on your computer like 5 feet away from your bed. It's such a different experience than like being in the office or being in school. So
Absolutely. I agree with Alec. It's such a different experience. As you mentioned, you roll out of bed, hop right on your desk, and you made it to work in less than 30 seconds. So to me, that was like the one of the positive factors. But what the pandemic has taught me is time management. Even though you're home, you're home. Life happens. There's people around your house. There's going to be interruptions. There's going to be this. There's going to be that, and it's just managing your time and just focusing what you have to do. And I guess, being grateful that you still have a place to work and you're still home. I know a lot of people couldn't deal with the digital innovation with working from home. A lot of people couldn't do Zoom. They couldn't really do the media platforms. But, I feel like because we're all very tech savvy, we're able to do it. We're able to understand, we're able to learn. But if I took anything from it, it's just be grateful for the time you still have, and don't let work overcome everything, but at the same time manage it right.
That's a good reminder. Very good reminder. Um, guys, any questions? None? You have 10 minutes left. All right. So, probably to wrap it up, um, any advice? You guys have been through a lot that as me as your mentee, I've learned a lot from you, from both of you in many different ways. Like, I go to Will for a different thing. I go to Alec for a different thing and ask their perspective so I can learn from their experiences. But in general, with what's going on, it's been a long time since, we've seen each other. Um, do you have any advice to all of us here at BAP? Beta Alpha Psi Nu Sigma Chapter FDU. Do you have any advice to all of us in general?
If I had any advice for you guys, it would be to, you know, don't be scared. Take the chance, because you never know what's going to happen. Each single decision you make could be a life-changing decision for the rest of your life, for your career. So don't be scared. Reach out, you know, go after that job, go after what you want. And, eventually it all leads to happiness.
pretty much exactly what Will said, and kind of more, since I'm more quantitative based, I guess I can give you a piece of advice that helped me throughout and like helped me kind of impress in job interviews, because I know a lot of you guys are seniors and moving into that piece. Learn how systems rank your resumes. Learn how bots actually look at your stuff. There's a technology called OCR, which is an optical character recognition, and we use it in my automation and analytics. But the general consensus is it looks for keywords that are defined either by HR or by the hiring manager. A great thing that you can do is at the bottom of your resume in the footer, put everything in the smallest font possible in white font and white letters, and then put like 1,000 buzzwords. Hiring manager doesn't see it, but the bot does. And that's how I got my first offer at Goldman. Like job offer at Goldman was literally like I got in there and they were like, how are you here? Like, this is such like a, because it was literally like all Ivy kids in May. And this guy, Chris Tyrell, who is my mentor going forward, is like, dude, how are you here? And I was like, hey, you want to know a secret? And he loved it. He was like, dude, that's amazing. Like, I've never heard of that before. And it's like those little things to stand out, and those little things that show you put in the thought and put in the work and put in, we're on that grind. It stands out immensely going forward in your whole career. I mean, like, not even in the job process, but even in your own like actual, when you get your full-time positions, those little things and going that little extra mile and doing your extra mile research, it just puts you in such a better position.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So can you give like an example or examples of like words that you would use, like how you said on the bottom of your resume?
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of tailor it depending on the job when I was applying. If it's a more of a financial analysis, like quantitative analysis job in, let's say, investments, I'll look up the top 100 buzzwords in investments and kind of distill them into a list that I feel comfortable with putting on the bottom. Now it's kind of more like data science, applied statistics, and mathematics, because that's where I'm more focused now. And then like finance on the back end. So I have about 100 like applied stats and 50 like finance just buzzwords that I found on the internet, whether it's from LinkedIn or Google. There's usually a list out there on Google that people have just like put out, like marketing people have just put out that are important, and I just throw them in there and just make sure that I'm comfortable with like a bot reading it, and I think that they're actually prevalent in today's like job market. So like,
Thank you.
Yep.
I actually did that last year, and I got so many emails. I had to delete it because I just like, I'm not looking for. I'm like, I'm good. I'm set for like 2021. So I'm like, I need to take a break because my emails were just flooding. But it does work, guys. I did it, just so you know. Um, so yeah, those are really good points. Um, FD can only teach us a lot, but it's really us who can who makes the end decision at the end of the day, and what uh we want to do, what we can do for ourselves. Um, for for me, I guess, as a mentor as well here in FDU Silverman, my advice would be like what Will said: just go for it. Just seek for those uncomfortable moments to be comfortable. Um, and also just be unique. Find your uniqueness. You really need to learn uh who you are, what you can do, and stand up for yourself, and stand up for that uniqueness. Don't be shy away. Just because you're different from the fishes in the sea doesn't mean that you have to be just like them, but just own who you are, because that's what that is the reason why basically the recruiters will hire, because you are who you are. You are not your peers. And like I said before, coming to FDU Silverman, I saw a lot of my peers as competitions freshman year, saying, "Oh, we're all accountants. We're going to for the same job at the end of the collegiate career, and they're all my competitions." But when I started my first internship, it was like, no, they're not my competitions at all. There's still a lot more from other colleges, from unemployed people who are going for the job that I want. So just be open minded and ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. And if you do fail, I know how it feels to fail, even failing class, failing a midterm test. That's okay. You just have to acknowledge that you failed, and then you can cry. I know Mary and Pat saw me cry when I failed. You can cry, and like the next day you just wake up and like, okay, let me grind again. Let me not make the same mistake again, and then grow from it. So, and also be aware of like your surroundings and learn from other people as well, and that's how you'll succeed on your own ways. So any last words, any last, comments, questions from Will, Alec, and also from the membership, from, our professors Collier and McGregor, and also from Pat and Mary from Silverman office? We are very, very happy to have you guys all here.
Quinn, I have a comment. You are amazing. That was fabulous. And I've had the pleasure of watching Quinn grow up. I met her when she was a senior in high school, and she has just rocked it. And Quinn, I am so proud of you. You're absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Any last comments? Like I
Well,
said,
Alex, thanks for coming back.
yes, Professor.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us today and taking your time to talk to us.
Thank you guys so much. It's 5:27, 3 minutes more. It's either you leave or you stay to ask more questions or to have a comment. We are very, very thankful, grateful to have, the alumni talk as our last meeting for BAP before induction. And I'm really proud to everyone, all their participation, their hard work, their efforts, the time that they spent for BAP. Thank you guys so much. And no more questions. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
And is your last
Thank you
official
very much.
meeting as president?
I will be president next semester. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.